Good day, everyone. Welcome to 360 Degrees Excellence, where we believe everyone can have all-round success. Today, I'm going to be having a conversation with my very good friend, Dr. Babatunde Agbeniga. We're going to be speaking about his journey into entrepreneurship, and we're also going to be talking about how we can cultivate tenacity. He's someone I've known for a very long time. We first met, I think, while he was finishing his master's. I think I was also finishing my PhD, and since then we've been good friends. And I know he's someone that's tenacious, and I've learned from him. So I've invited him for for him to share his experience. But before we go into that, I want him to first tell us about himself. Doc, can you just tell us about yourself? Can you tell us about yourself?
All right, thank you so much, Prof. Tosin, my good friend. Like you said, we've come a long way, and I think we've been together for around 16, 17 years now, if I'm not mistaken. Um, that's quite long. Nice to be with you online, and good to be with every other participant that is joining from different parts of the world. It's my pleasure to be with you and to relate and to converse about the things that I've gone through, my entrepreneurial journey, my academic journey, my professional career generally. I'm happy to be here. Um, like you said, my name is Babatunde Agbeniga. I I'm an animal scientist. I'm one of the first set from the University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, in Ogun State, where I did animal breeding and genetics. Then I waited. I had to travel from one country to the other, I think for about 9 years, to get back again into academics, which I started in South Africa when I started my honors degree in food production and processing. And in that department that I met Professor Tosin, you know. So I have a degree, a honors degree in food production and processing, which is a part of food science. And then after that, I decided to switch back again to my animal science background, because my background was in animal breeding and genetics. So, but now I wanted to do something related to food, something that is more related to food. And that was when I decided to go into meat science. So it was animal science, livestock science to be specific, with specialization in meat science. So that's what I did for my master's. And then I decided to go further after my master. I mean, that's my master's now. Then I decided to go further to do my PhD. I became more curious now. So I started my PhD in the same institution, University of Pretoria, still in the area of meat science. I actually specialize in meat quality, carcass and meat quality. So that was what I did my research on. And of course, I diverted a little bit into the production aspect as well, but my major was in meat and carcass quality, which I did for my PhD. So yeah, but along the line, I was doing a lot of things, business and entrepreneurship, which I started a little much younger. So all along while I was doing my studies, I was also working full time, and I was also doing business. I would say full time as well. So I was combining those three things, academic career, work, and then business. All in the name of just making ends meet. so to say. Yeah, well, it's been an exciting journey, and I'm grateful. I'm happy that I was able to take those steps of faith. I call them steps of faith because they're not easy steps to take. But all the same, I was able to take those steps. I was able to learn. I was able to progress,
Yeah.
and I'm happy that I took them.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I'm so happy that you were able to achieve your goals, and you were someone that never gave up. You were in Nigeria, and you decided that you wanted something more. You left Nigeria, you came to an African country, and after being in that African country for maybe a few years, decided to leave. You came to South Africa. You were always wanting more, and you did your honors, did your masters, did your PhD. I mean, that is very, very interesting. And while you were also doing that, you were also doing some entrepreneurial activities, and it's very, 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 very amazing. Yeah, amazing. And now I know there was a time you were into trading, maybe buying things from China and selling it. And there was also another time that you went into butchery business. Can you tell us maybe life and business lessons, few life and business lessons that you learned that you can share with us?
Mm. Thank you so much once again, Prof. Yeah, my entrepreneurial journey, uh, stroke trading, uh, or business, whichever name you want to give it, actually started way back. Maybe I can just give a little background on that. Well, I would say I began to know what trading is called or what trading means when I was around 6, 7 years old. Those days, when the schools were closed for holidays, I would go to my grandmother to spend some time, to spend the holiday sometime during the holiday with her. And then back then, she was a trader. She would sell household things, groceries, in just a very small store, just in front of the house where she was living there. Though my parents kicked against it that I should be doing such business activities while I was still very young. I was just about 6, 7 years old. So one day I told my grandmother because I would see other kids, hawking things. They'll sell things for their parents, come back with money, and then, everybody was happy at the end of the day, helping their parents. So my grandmother was doing the same. She was selling different types of bread, peanuts, this, that, fast moving consumer goods. Then I told her one day that I would like to also hawk and see how, this thing works. And she was hesitant initially, but at the end of the day, I was able to convince her. I said, no, Grandma, I can't just be with you. I have to assist you. We have to make this business work. Even though I'm still young, but I really want to assist you. A very loving woman. May I so continue to rest in peace. Then one day she gave me some of the things she was selling. I went with bread, went with peanuts, went with pap. Within 2 hours, I was back. Everything was sold out.
Hmm.
She couldn't believe it. She was happy, you know. And then it went on and on and on. So that was when I became aware of what trading is, of what buying and selling is to make some extra money. And of course, then she would give me some extra cash to spend on whatever I liked. Then, so that was when I became aware, that you can buy something and sell something and make some money for yourself. Now, fast forward to around 1994, after my youth service. Then no chance, nothing was coming up. Then I decided, I studied agriculture, animal breeding and genetics. That was when I decided to take a risk and put some money, that's my own resources, into poultry business, which was the cheapest for me then. Yeah. Then, of course, I had some little savings from my NYSC. My mom also assisted a little bit. So I was able to put those resources together. My father had an uncompleted building, which I could use as a poultry pen. So I had to cover it up and made it a poultry pen. So I started small. I started with 50 birds, broiler chickens. So I'll go to where the broiler chickens have been, where the chickens have been laid. I'll collect the day old chickens, bring them home, rear them for like 8 weeks, feed them, compound my own food. I mean, my own feed for them. Sorry. And the chickens were doing well. At 8 weeks, I was already getting like 3 kg. So I was selling my chickens, I would take my chickens to even the roadside. I had like one or two people helping me out. A lot of people started, throwing some bad words. He's a graduate, he's supposed to be sitting on, he's supposed to be a corporate person, he's not supposed to be selling chicken by the roadside. Luckily there was no regulation against selling whatever you want to sell in Nigeria. Years. I mean, I'm talking of 94, 95, up till 96 when I started to leave. So I was able to make my own money. I was able to, sustain myself, look after my younger ones because I'm the first child in my family. So that went on, but of course I started small. I started with 50 birds. Later I added, the next batch was like 80. The next one was like 100. The next one was like, 120, and I became aware that, one can actually make more money from this, So that was when I started learning about, how to buy something, how to add value and how to sell and how to make your own money, to look after yourself, So that was how the journey started. That is post my graduation now. Yeah, so it was, I'm grateful for that, for the opportunity and the support that I got from my family, especially my mom, So that went. But then come 1996, it was around the middle of 96, a friend of mine came from Gambia, So he came and he was working, actually. He was working in Gambia as a teacher. So he came, he told me, come on, in Gambia, people the schools are paying, government is paying like $500, $600 for teachers. I said, wow. Because in Nigeria then, the average salary of a teacher in Nigeria then was so small, something like $50 or even less. So for you to be able to make $500 from teaching, which is of course a business as well, because I've put in time to learn about what I'm gonna teach. So in this case, I'm selling my services, my knowledge, which I've acquired over the years. So life itself is business. Whether you're selling service, whether you're selling knowledge, it's all business. So getting something and selling something and making something out of it. So in 1996, in September, I decided to give it a try to leave. Of course, I was in my business, but my business was doing fine, but I wanted more. I wanted to explore more because then I also saw opportunities were dwindling in Nigeria. People graduate from school, no job, this, that. The economy was getting tighter and getting worse then. I mean, that was then. So I took that risk. I left, I went to the Gambia. And luckily for me, within 5 days, I was able to get a job. I actually went to the Minister of Education. I actually went to his office. Luckily, he was going out that day from the office. I just met him. I said, sir, I'm just from Nigeria. I have a degree in agriculture and I can teach. How can you help me? He said, no, he's in a hurry, this, that. I had to persuade him, sir, please, if you don't do something, I'm going to die here. And he laughed. He said, okay, don't worry, talk to my secretary. Let my secretary check if there's any available space in any of the schools, even if it's outside of Banjul. If you don't mind, you can go. I said, thank you so much, sir. Then I waited, the secretary checked. Fortunately, she was able to get a school, one of the best schools. So she said, are you ready to go? It's a bit far, but are you ready? I said, no, I'm ready to go. So that was how I went for a plane, got there. 2 weeks later, I started teaching agricultural science. And I was so excited, in another country, getting some new experience and all that. It was exciting. But then I looked around myself also, from the business background that I've been into. That's what can I do to add to my income? Then I started asking questions. As a student, as some of my friends outside the school and all that. And they told me that there is this guy that is selling jewelry, like the only one selling jewelry there. And the jewelry those days, the gold-plated jewelry. The people are not really aware this is real gold or it's plated or whatever. So what everybody just wanted to wear jewelry. That was the in thing then. So I decided to venture into that business. Then I called my mom because I remember those years, even before I left Nigeria, I would go with my mom to a place called Ifeanyi in Benin Republic because all those kind of things were cheap then, those years. So, but I had to do my own due diligence, which is, finding out, knowing the scope of the market, this, that. And I realized, the market potential is just huge because it was only one guy, and the guy who come from Banjul to come and sell. He will make so much money. In fact, he couldn't even meet up with the demands that were coming in those days in that small town that I was, teaching. Then I called my mom. I said, Mom, do you remember those days we used to go buy jewelry, this or whatever in Ifeanyi? She said, yes. I said, I need some of those things. Then I sent some money. She sent some of those jewelries to me. Then I started selling the jewelries while I was teaching. Of course, I was doing some extra teaching for the people and private practice after school. I still had to teach some students, but I had to engage myself, in this business because I'm not used to now sitting down and just working alone without adding something extra, an extra stream of income. So when I got the first batch of those jewelries, I started selling again. And I see that this is working. At some point, I was even making more money than the salary that I was getting from teaching. At some point, I had to engage the services of some of the students that even told me about this business. Well, of course, they were mature students. Some of them were even married those years. So they would tell me, teacher, please, we can sell this thing and also make something small for ourselves after school, during weekends and all that. And I knew then, of course, they will not run away with my things because I'm their teacher. If they run, I'm going to feel them. Just joking. So it became more interesting. I started making money from the jewelries again. And then I was happy, making money from jewelries, making money from this. But then after 2 years, a friend of mine called me again from Kenya, which is my childhood friend, together in Nigeria, before he went to Kenya. Then he got to Kenya, he started a business as well. Now he was dealing in curio, horticultural products, those flower, different types of flower to Europe. Then I decided to give it a try because I had also wanted to travel out to go to UK from Gambia. Then I had a girlfriend whose father invited me, a white girl from Liverpool, which we were together then. Then I was denied the visa. Then I got frustrated because she wanted to see me. I also wanted to see her. Then eventually I had to leave Gambia to go to Kenya. Now, when I got to Kenya, the guy was already doing very well. I came with some money as well. So I had to join in the business of the curio, with export rose, flower, different types of flower, different countries in Europe. And I was also able to make a lot of money from there. From there, I got married, married my wife in Kenya. We had our first child in 2000. And then, the business was going well. But then the hunger that I was still having in me, to go back to school to further my studies. So at some point in 2001, I had to make up my mind that I want to further my studies. So that was when I applied to University of Pretoria. Then I applied to University of Pretoria for my honors degree because my background was not in food science. So I wanted to do food science. So they advised me that if I could go the route of the honors, that if I can do honors, that's an. So I gave it a thought, and I decided, made up my mind. So I applied, I was given the admission in 201, but I couldn't go because I still needed to put some more money together to be able to sustain myself. And of course, my family was there. Now in Kenya, my wife, my son, that I had to look after. So, but I deferred the admission to 2002. 202 came, same problem. I still had to, tighten some loose ends in terms of finances. And of course, I was so hesitant to leave my family, going to another country again. But eventually in 203, I had to make up my mind and I had to leave, and I got to South Africa. I started my honors degree, and then life went on from there as well. And guess what? When I got to South Africa, I found out that the same jewelry business that I was doing in the Gambia was the in thing.
Was in thing, yeah. I heard about that.
Yeah, that was the in thing. I mean, that was the main business of everyone. It was a new business, of course, then. But then you could make a lot of money from it. So when I got there, I had to pay some money for my registration to register for my honors program, because I got my admission letter like 3 years back and all that. So then, same thing I did while I was in Gambia. I had to call my mom. I said, Mom, similar business. I want to do the same business. Can you get me some stuff from Nigeria? She got some stuff for me. So I started selling jewelry again. 2 weeks into the time that I got my first stock of jewelries, I was able to raise the money for my registration to start my honors degree. So I started my program. So 2 months into my program, I started, scouting for job. And luckily I was able to get a job. The company is now called RCL. It used to be Ruto Mills. Yeah. Victoria, I'm sure you're familiar with Ruto Mills. Victoria, it's now called RCL, which is a bigger company now. Some people bought it to it and all that. So I started working. I got the job. It was full time, but I was working in shifts. So I was able to study and I was able to do my business. So I capitalized on that. So while I was doing full-time studies, I would go do some selling, of my jewelries, make some extra money. Then I started thinking of bringing my family over because I was tired of staying alone then. So I started working on that, started saving some money, and that was good. I was happy with that I was able to take that step. It wasn't easy though, but I was able to take that step. As a trader, as an entrepreneur, I seem not to just be able to stay back, without making something extra for myself. No matter what I'm making while I'm working, then I still want to make my money because I know the principles of buying, selling, making your own cash. So that's really helped. So that was how I was able to pull through, and then post that again. Fast forward till my master's degree. Then I was still working as well. Then I decided to also venture into something else. Well, I like fashion. I have an eye for fashion as well. I'm wearing good things. So that was when I decided. A friend of mine used to go to China and to buy things, and we just sell from the boot of the car, effortlessly. So I decided, can't I give this a try as well? Then I pulled some money together. I made my first trip to China. I think that was around 2006, 2007, thereabouts. So I went to China. The first trip was the visa was so easy to get then. Unlike nowadays, I just gave the visa to one of my friends. No, the one that used to go, he said, no, you will help me with it. My visa was back. And I put some money together, went to Guangzhou. Actually went with him anyway when I was going on first. So, and when I was going on the first trip, I went. So I got some stuff, some nice clothing. So I had to go to the shop to choose by myself. Because if you have an eye for fashion, if you have an eye for something, if you're passionate about something, it's easy for you to be able to, get the things that you think people would like. So if you have an eye, definitely people will like what you have. So I took that step of faith. choice consignment, clothing, wristwatches, sunshades, shoes, everything that I was able to lay my hands, got back to South Africa, put them at the back of my boot. I started selling my things. And I was free. Weekends, some weekdays, after church, after any meeting, because then I was also part of this political group, APC, the ruling party in Nigeria. It was called AC then or whatever. So after any kind of meeting or any outing or any time I had chance, to relate with people, I would just open my booth, see what you like, choose this, that. And it was good, profitable. Sometimes you could, because with fashion, there is no fixed price. Once you like what I'm selling, I can make 400% profit, 500% profit. So I got so happy with what I was doing. Then don't forget I was still studying full time. And I was working with a company also full time. So everything was full time. Now business, I was able to pull through. It was a bit hectic at some point because then my wife was not working, so it was only me. So I had to pay the school fees for the children, pay the bills for the house, pay her school fees, pay some of my expenses, fuel for the car, this, that, Yeah, but at the end of the day, it paid off. It paid off. I was happy. I was able to take that step. So I was able to run my things, without begging anybody for cash. So that was how I was able to pull through my MSc. Then my PhD came now. After my MSc, I decided to go further, Then at some point, I couldn't cope again because now things started changing at my workplace. I think the manager then was not too happy that take some. Well, it was a kind of organizational restructuring. But now it affected my department that I had to now be placed on full-time day shift. So that's just when it became a problem for me going to classes, doing my business. So I had to make up my mind at some point. So in 2013, because I started my PhD in 2012. So in 2013, I had to throw in the towel on my employment. So I had to tell them, no, I need to resign. I have to face my studies full time because I was sponsored then. My research was funded, and then I was also getting stipend from school. But luckily for me, also around that time, my wife also finished that program, and she was able to also get a job, a full-time job that was also paying. She's a nurse. So yeah, so everything now like came together. I thought at least we'll be able to manage because now you're working, I'm getting stipend, I'm still doing my small business here and there, so that was how we were able to manage and pull resources together to take care of our bills and to take care of the children and that. So then I didn't stop at the China things because I also made some more trips afterwards, But at some point, I felt sick that I couldn't even study, I couldn't work, I couldn't do anything. But luckily, I was still a little bit early into my research for my PhD. So, but thanks to the things I was bringing from China, that really assisted me. Because even from the hospital bed, I could sell my stuff to people. People will call me, I will tell them, go to my house, my wife will give you this, give you that, and they'll pay into my account. That was how I was able to pull through for those 2 years. It was bad because it was big operation, back operation. Yeah, but I thank God I was able to get over it, And then at some point also, I had to also had another business, which was car business. So then I would buy accident cars, fix, just to make ends meet. I'll fix. So just something to compensate for the work that I was now not doing full time. So I'll buy accident cars, I'll fix, I'll sell, make some money again, and then pull everything together. So that was how I was able to pull through. Now buying something, selling something, making that money to look after all the things you needed to look after. So I was able to pull through. So after my PhD, I it was in 2018, I actually finished in 2018. So in 2019, I did my graduation, Then 2020, of course, I started my postdoc after small business selling, and then my postdoc also came, so I started doing my postdoc. But then came COVID in 2020. And then my project, my postdoc project was affected. Even selling, because you couldn't even go out then. So it's really affected a lot. So it was only my wife that was working then as a nurse. So that was then I decided to go back into farming, which I did many years ago after my youth service. So that was how I started a farm. It was on lease, not too far from where I used to stay. So I got that farm on lease. I decided to, what my focus then was to supply meat. So I didn't want to go into animal breeding or go into extensive animal farming. So I just wanted people to have especially goat meat. Because I discovered then, goat meat was not, go to any butcher in South Africa, you can't find goat meat.
Can't find goat.
The regulation is still not there supporting goat meat, because the regulation is still kind of skewed, so that's why butcheries don't sell goat meat. So I saw that gap, and I did my research as well. I did my findings. I, sampled so many opinions. How would you feel if I started processing my carcasses the way we do in Nigeria, which is mainly burning? Many people prefer their carcasses to be burned. And then being an animal scientist, being a meat scientist, I know how to do all this. I know how to do kosher slaughter, halal slaughter. That was a major part of my MSc program. So that was how I made up my mind to go into that business. Of course, I've saved some money, from my postdoc and from my businesses and all that. So I didn't borrow anything from the bank. So I decided to get that place on lease. I bought a truck. I constructed my pens on the farm. I bought the machines that I needed, slaughter machines, cutting machines, freezers, a little chiller room, and all that. So I did all that from all the funds that I've accumulated over the years. That was how I managed to start my farming business, with the focus on supplying meat, and with a bigger focus on supplying goat meat, which was lacking. And a lot of our people wanted to eat goat meat, but they didn't know where to find that goat meat. So I went into that business. I'll go to auctions, I'll buy my livestock, I'll fatten them up for like a month. I'll slaughter them, I'll cut them, I'll pack them, I branded them, and I started selling my things. I'll put at the back of my boot, put in the cooler box, take it to town, show it to people, sell my things. Of course, a lot of people also threw a lot of bad words. He's a doctor. Why wouldn't I be selling meat? You can imagine what people tell you. So you have to be courageous when you're doing this. As long as you know where you're going. And I find it even difficult to explain to some people, because they didn't just want to understand that how can a doctor be selling meat, be going from one place to the other to sell meat? I said, this is what I studied. This is my field. This is my line of work. I've spent more than 12 years learning how to process carcasses, how to sell my meat, how to give you the best quality meat. So why won't I practice my things? And in the first place, I didn't seek the opinion of anyone. I only went to experts and people that I feel I could speak to. Then I decided I'm going into this business. And it paid off very well. I started making money. People started getting aware that someone is now selling goat meat, top quality. Because the way I employed some people, some 2-3 guys that are working with me. If I had so much others, my wife will support me when she's off. My son will support me, my daughter. Even my daughter, my smallest daughter, then like 10 years old, she could slaughter an animal, she could cut an animal, she could process an animal. So everything came handy because the knowledge was there. So that was how I was able to pull through the COVID period. And then people started getting to know me. I started getting calls. If you like 2 kg, 3 kg, 5 kg, I'll give it to you. You don't need to buy a whole animal or have a whole carcass. Because some people order for a full carcass, I'll give it. So it became exciting. So, but I still had that hunger to still, because after my PhD, I never really had time to work or, improve on my CV. So when I got approached, I was a bit hesitant by this French multinational company. It's a food processing company. Because, of course, I'm a scientist. And based on my work experience, because I've worked in the industry for like over 10 years, so they saw my CV, they called me from nowhere. I never expected a call. But then I saw the offer. It wasn't bad. And that was when I made up my mind, to go back to the industry.
Yeah.
So I had to lease my farm to some people, but at some point they were not managing the farm properly. So I had to put it on hold for now. But right
Yeah.
now I'm working in the industry, and then I'm now busy regrouping now, doing a bigger business,
Yeah.
especially the farming business and the meat business, because
Yeah.
that's what I eventually want to focus on, settle down on, because I've gained so much knowledge, so much experience in the industry, and I feel this is the right time. So right now I'm busy pulling resources together, and then I want to go on a bigger level, when I start the business again. That's what I really want to settle down, doing after retiring from my work.
Yeah.
It could be anytime. It could be early retirement, it could be late retirement. Once I'm comfortable, once all the resources are ready, then I have to go into that. So that's the journey so far.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to God.
Very inspiring journey. And one thing I also learned from your journey is that you can start a business. That doesn't stop you from working for another person in future.
Yeah.
If you get, if that's the way God wants it to happen. We know of a lot of people that start businesses, and people will buy the business from them, and they might even be employed as the CEO, but maybe they buy the business at a very huge price. So it's just being tenacious, and that's what I've been able to learn from your story. Not giving up, and that always finding something to do, and not allowing anything to make you to be dejected. And look at your journey from Nigeria to Gambia to Kenya to South Africa. Who knows, maybe to another country. I really see you as a sojourner. Reminded me as we has been sojourners in this world, and that's how businessmen should be. Businessmen should be entrepreneurial, should be able to start things, and to be able to be tenacious. And that takes me to the next question. As someone that is tenacious, how can tenacity be cultivated? There are a lot of people that are looking at your story and they're saying, okay, how can I be tenacious like this person? How can tenacity be cultivated? That's my question now that I have for you.
Yeah, thank you so much once again, Prof. Yeah, well, maybe I will say that's my personal principle, that never say never. I don't just give in without a fight. Anything that I've done in my life, never say never. But the first thing is for you to be able to go into any business, not necessarily the things that I've done, but anything in life, life itself is a big business. You growing up, going to school, learning something, it's our business. When God created us to this world, He brought us here to come and do business with the life that He has given us. So it's now left to every one of us, to determine your own calling. What kind of business? What are you driven to? What do you want to do? What business you want to do with your life? What are you providing for people? What need are you narrowing down the gap to provide to people? So it's all about, meeting the needs of others. What do people need? Anywhere you find yourself, there's always something that people need. So it's now left to you to find out what people need and work towards how you can get that thing to the people that needs it. So you're providing services, you're providing a product, anything you're giving to people, you will always be okay. You will make your own from there. So the first thing is you have to be driven. You have to be motivated. You have to be ambitious. You have to be passionate about whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
That is the first step. And you should be willing to take a risk, because life itself is a big risk. You can see what happens in the internet by some people just clicking on an app or any message from anywhere. Your bank account could be emptied. Yeah. While you're sitting down inside your sitting room, someone can empty your bank account. That is the risk we face on a daily basis. So for you to be able to go into any business or do something, you have to be willing to take a risk.
Yeah.
There is nothing you do without risk.
Yeah.
But you need to, once you're driven, once you're passionate, that will overpower that risk factor. And of course, you have to be dedicated in whatever you're doing. You have to show sense of responsibility. Doing business is not an easy thing. Sometimes when I was working, I would come back from night shift, and I needed to go to maybe Joburg, because sometimes I couldn't go to China, but I had some of my friends that were still going to China to bring in some things. I'll negotiate with them. They'll give them to me at a cheaper price. I'll wake up from I'll come back from my night shift when I was supposed to be sleeping. I have to still go get some stuff, because some people are asking for one or two things that I don't have, So you have to show a sense of responsibility. You have to be hardworking. You have to be dedicated. The next thing is you have to be resourceful. Do research. Find out. It's only lazy people that will say, oh, because someone is doing the business, I just want to go into it. At the end of the day, you will collapse within a short time.
Yeah.
Be resourceful. Find out whatever thing you want to do. Do your research. Take time to find out. Get a mentor if possible. Get someone to tell you, someone that is into that business, because nowadays it's hard to find people that are not doing what you're doing. So, but you want to get better. You want to do it in a bigger way. Find out from people. Be resourceful. Start small. Don't say you want to start big. Like Cadbury started their own business so big. Coca-Cola is supplying 1 million crates every. No, come on. Start small. And of course, that depends on your resources. Start from somewhere that you have the power to start from. You know what you have. You are the only one that knows the resources that you can put into what you want to do. So you don't need, and if you fall, if you start small and if you fall while starting small, you won't feel so much pain. It's just like someone climbing a ladder. If you climb like 2-3 steps, you fall, you won't feel so much pain. Or getting to like 50th step or 40th step and you fall, you feel so much pain. So when you start small, if you make mistakes, if you fall, the pain will be so much less compared to, say, you want to start big because you've got the money. No, start small, start from somewhere. That is where most people get it wrong, because they will now be thinking, no, I can't do this. When I started my poultry, I started with 50 bots. And I started growing from there. By the time I left Nigeria, I was taking 200 bots. So that is how to do business, because you will learn. When you start small, you will learn as you grow. You will learn, you will know all the common mistakes. So you won't be able to fall because you're already there. The experience is there, the resources are there. So I always advise people, start from small place. Don't start big. Learn, because when you start small, it creates that chance for you to learn.
Yeah.
And you make mistakes while you're learning because you're still small. You won't feel it too much. You won't lose too much money. You won't lose too much emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Know your vision. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. I still wanted to chip in a little bit.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Yeah, maybe in the next 5 minutes. Yeah. Get a vision statement. What do you see when you think about this business?
Yeah.
And that thing that you see, which is the vision, what is the mission to accomplish that vision? That's also very important. Write it down. Itemize the things you need to do to get to that vision, that thing that you saw. That's it. So it depends on how you want to take it. If you want to go on a big scope, small scope, but like I said, start small, Yeah. Balance your physical activities, your mental self, your emotional self, your spiritual life. There has to be a balance. You need to be able to harmonize all of this. Your social life, everything has to be able to You have to harmonize them. You have to balance everything for you to do well. Not only in trading, everything in life, but in business, that's very important. Do exercise, because at the end of the day, your ideas and everything is coming from this same body. If you're sick, I mean, how will you be able to think straight? Do physical, learn new things. I believe until you die, until anyone dies, you have to keep learning, because new things are coming up every day. So keep learning, do research every day, find out about the things, know about the new techniques, know about the new products, know about the new customers, what are the things the people want nowadays, because it's a changing world. So you have to be dynamic, and then, of course, the last but not least, be patient. Rome was not built in a day. Yeah, because a lot of people get discouraged after starting a business 1 or 2 years. This thing is not doing well. It's not giving me the kind of money that I want. And money is not the only thing that people look when they start business or when they do business. Look at the bigger impact.
Yeah.
Because even God says, I will bless you and you will become a blessing.
Absolutely.
So it's only when you are blessed, do what you need to do diligently. That is when you can become a blessing. So look at the bigger picture. The thing you are doing, how many people are going to learn from you? How many people are going to benefit from you? And in that way, you are populating the kingdom of heaven. Because more people will come and learn, more people will now be happy, more people will now be satisfied by learning 1 or 2 things from you that will be useful for themselves also. And transmitting the same messages, teaching other people as well. And that's when the whole world can get better.
Absolutely.
So have a bigger focus apart from money. So it's not only money, the money sustain you. You could be happy, you could be making all the money in the world, but look at the bigger picture, because you have to give back. So that's the way I see life. And that's my business journey so far. The next stage I'm going right now, I'm busy with acquiring the resources that is needed to launch out in a bigger way. So once I'm happy, I'm satisfied with what is there, with the resources, then of course I'm going to launch out in a bigger way. And this time around, it's going to be something permanent, because something I want to sit down and run, as the chief executive officer of my business.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Doctor, for telling us those tips, sharing with us those tips. They are very, very important. We just have to think about a problem to be solved, because if you can solve the problem for people, you can make some money from there. You also talk about starting small and also thinking big. While you are starting small, you're also thinking big. You have a goal, you have where you are going, but you must be ready to start small. Even scripture says, don't despise the days of little beginning. So one should be ready to start small. Do your research, you said, very, very important. And patience, very, very important. And never give up. I mean, that's how we can build tenacity. And it's very, very important for entrepreneurs to be tenacious, and because you're going to face some challenges, but if you're tenacious, you're going to pull through. And I once read about statistics that 9 in 10 businesses that start in a year don't survive the first year. But when they try the second time, there is very high chance of them surviving. So it's not giving up, because you must have learned 1 or 2 things from the failure. And that's one thing also about Americans. Americans are very entrepreneurial. They are not afraid to make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, they are not embarrassed. In some countries, people are, embarrassed when they make mistakes. It's not like that in the US, about the bankruptcy law. They have this bankruptcy law. And people have talked a lot about Trump. Some of the businesses they started, went into bankruptcy. But there's a way they protect them in the US. So they encourage entrepreneurship. So one should not be afraid to fail. Just try as much as possible to start something and start small. And very, very important. Just do it. like Nike
Just
says,
do
just
it
do
at
something
Nike, yeah.
and do your research. Just
Just
do
do
it
it.
and don't
Do
give
your
up.
due diligence, do your
Yeah,
research. Anything will
yeah,
come to detail, you
yeah.
can find out and go for it.
Absolutely,
There will always be challenges in everything.
absolutely,
That's a common
absolutely.
denominator. That's
Yeah,
a common.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for taking time out to do this sharing with us. We've really learned a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people have been raising up their hands to ask questions. So let me just thank you so much once again, Doc. I just want to ask the first hand that was raised was Dr. James. Was okay? Can you, Dr. James, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay, maybe it's no more there.
Okay, I see.
Okay. Now, Jude, can you ask your question? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Dr. Babatunde. Thank you for that wonderful presentation.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, sir. I think you are speaking with both experience and what you have experienced yourself, and also backing it up with you. It's not like you are just telling us what you have not seen. Everything you have said here today is something you have experienced practically yourself, and I think is what commendable for a young guy like that, is a youth that is trying to learn and be like you guys. I think this is an inspiration for me, to double up my working hard, that nothing is unachievable. Okay.
Exactly.
So that being said, from your presentation, it seems as if you are involved in so many things,
Yeah.
So sometimes I really got a bit carried away, confused, because I want to do this, I want to hustle, I want to take opportunity, I want to take chances because I want to succeed. So when I see this opportunity, I will jump into it. So I also think that things like this can actually distract our focus, and they make us not to focus on one thing. Like there's another thing that I say that master of all. Did you say master of all trade? And there's
master of none.
Master of none, jack of all trade and master of
jack
none.
Jack of all trade, master of none.
Exactly. So do you think as a young guy like me that venturing into all opportunities, that these things will not distract me from fulfilling my dreams, achieving my purpose in life? And that's number one. Then number two, I know that you said that when you're in Nigeria, you were earning around, I think you said you're controlling around 200,000 or something like that. So in an environment, like Nigeria, and I think I've also heard is that you did international businesses. You go to China, you import and you export. So in an environment like Nigeria, for a young guy like us, knowing that for you to do that kind of business, import and export in Nigeria, if you're not connected with the government, it's going to be a difficult task for you to do. So what kind of advice would you advise to a youth that is trying to be successful in life, coming from the Nigeria background, knowing how all the law, the constitution is against the young people in Nigeria, and how manipulative that the current situation in Nigeria can be now? So what advice do you have for young people? Is it to japa? Is it to stay around? Is it to take opportunities? I mean, what do you have for us? What is that advice you have for me? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the question. Yeah, you mentioned the first one was like, you don't want to be a jack of all trades. Like I said earlier, you need to know your strength. You can't go into everything. Whatever you're doing, you need to have a certain level of passion for what you can do everything. Okay, like I said earlier also in my presentation, at some point I jumped into car business. That car business, I learned from it. I lost some money. I made a lot of money also from it. But what I discovered was, this is not for me. So the reason why I was doing it then was to augment, whatever I was making. You understand what I'm saying? And I saw that as a way of even saving money. That, okay, let me put this here. I know this money is here. The worst comes to the worst, I know this is what I'll get back. You understand? Of course, I made money. But at some point also, I also lost money. So you can't do everything as a human being. Well, of course, the Bible says we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. But Christ will always strengthen you towards the things that you're passionate about. If you're not passionate about anything, it's just a matter of time. It will collapse. It will collapse because that passion is what is going to carry you through. But it now depends on you to look at the resources that you have. Which resources you have that can power the kind of business you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Knowledge, I was able to go into poultry because I studied animal science. So that was easy for me. And of course, I have passion for animals because I've been rearing animals since I was young. I knew that. So I wanted to work with animals right from my primary school. I will keep chickens, I will keep snails, I will keep turkeys, I will keep dogs, I will keep goats, every little animal that I could lay my hands on. So you see, the passion was already there. So, but it now depends on you now to look at the things that you're passionate about. That is what is going to inform you about, the line of businesses you need to go into. I had a passion for fashion. I still have. When I see good things, especially the designer things, and I took my time to learn about those designer things. I'll go buy Nike, which one is raining now, Adidas, which one is raining, this, that. So I knew I had an idea of the brands that people want, and that's what I would go for. And when I wear them also, I'm happy when I wear good things. And when I see people wearing good things, I'm happy. So I have an eye for fashion. And that's why I will go and select my things one by one. Nobody but for me. All the times I was going to China, I would go by myself. I will select because I know if I can like this thing, other person like it as well. So that's an eye for passion because I have a passion. I mean, that's an eye because I've got a passion for it. So I've got an eye for the fashion because I'm passionate about it as well. So you can do things. Look at it. You can't depend on just one stream of income, especially nowadays. With the kind of economy that we have, with the responsibilities, if you're a married man, you've got children, then you just want to depend on your salary, it's difficult nowadays. So even if it's one or two little business that you can add to what you're doing, go for it. Know your resources, know your capabilities, and know the scope that you want to go. You want to go low, you want to go medium, you want to go high. You are the one that knows what you have, but the resources are there. And whatever you want to do, they're just there. The needs that people have are there. So you have to, there's something we call P over PC. The product you want to give to the people, and then your production capacity. That has to be balanced. Product is a P over PC, which is your production capacity. So you don't do more than yourself. Do whatever your ability can carry. If it's just selling shoes, selling books, selling anything you can. After work, there's always that time. There's sometimes you want to go relax with your friend. 2 hours. You are the one that needs to time yourself. Time is also a resource. Know the resources you have and know the things you can go through based on your passion, based on what you're driven at, based on your ambitions. You can do anything. You can do anything. Human minds are so big. We're so capacitated to do so many things, but we are the ones that limit ourselves most of the time. So it's not a matter of jackpotting. You want to jackpot, you can jackpot. It's okay. That's part of it. You look, I jackpot also from one country to another. So that's normal. But you have to weigh your options. You have to assess yourself. You are the one that knows your situation and find out even about the place you're going. But what I've done in all the countries that I've been is that I've done something apart from my professional career. I could do business anywhere that I find myself. It's just a matter of identifying the need that is there. And based on my passion, out of all those needs, of course, I can't fulfill every need. But based on my passion, the ones that correspond with what I can provide, whether it's service, whether it's product, I go for it. Yeah. As long as I can manage my time, which is also a very important resource, then I'll go for it. And at the end of the day, I make my extra thing, everybody's happy, and that's the way life is. So that's my story. That's the way I've been doing it. Anywhere that I find myself, I know even if there is no job, I can survive.
Yeah.
It's just for me to identify what I need to do and something that is related to what I'm passionate about. Then I go for it. So
yeah.
that's my experience, and I think that's the way it should work anyway.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Doc, for that response. Perfect. Passion is very, very important.
Yeah.
I know your ability, know your capability.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's another question. Mr. John Tolani, over to you. Can you unmute yourself?
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
You have taken us through a rigorous journey of a multitasker. So thank God for the ability you have to multitask. It's been great to have learned that lesson, especially towards the end, even your last answer. You said wherever you find yourself, you look for the needs that you could meet there, and you do the best you could to meet them. So I'm responding to Mr. Jude. I'm going to do now that because he mentioned that how does somebody cope if it's not related to the government. Just yesterday, I had a business meeting with my younger brother. And the first thing he said, even though it was for a governor, but he said the first thing is if you want to succeed in business, don't go to the government.
Exactly.
So you do not need the government will in most cases be your stumbling block.
Exactly.
Apart from helping you, they will likely be your stumbling block. So the best thing is to just look at your environment, determine what you can do the best, and try to do it the best way to do it. And that's a good success formula. Thank you very much. It's been a great time with the group here. I appreciate you, sir. My brother, Prof. You are doing a great job. And I'm sure that heaven is recording your exploits.
Amen.
And on the last day, you'll be bountifully rewarded in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Thank you,
sir.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure there's no more question. I'm sure there's no more question. Thank you so much, Doc, for what interesting, conversation, for answering all our questions, for sharing, with us. We really learned a lot from what you've shared with us, and there's something we can always do. And we are children of God. God has given us, wisdom to excel.
Exactly.
And when God created Adam, and God told him that he has created him to excel. So we have that ability. So wherever we find ourselves, we must just look inward and tell ourselves that we can make it wherever we find ourselves. There was a time I did a video about being brave. We should be brave. We should be brave.
Courageous.
We should be courageous. And we must not take no for an answer, like you said the other time. Never say never. And that we are going to make it wherever we find ourselves. We are going to pray. We are going to fast. Jesus even said that sometimes certain things will not move unless we pray and fast. So we are going to do whatever we know to do. We are children of God. We are going to pray. We are going to study the Bible. We are going to ask for wisdom. If something does not want to move, it will move when we pray. We will not give up. We'll be a great blessing to our generation. And we are going to make it if we trust God. We do our part. Yeah. Mr. John, do you want to say something before we round up? Your hand is up. Okay, maybe it's an old hand that is up.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
So thank you so much once again, Doc, for really coming to share with us. We've learned a lot. And thanks all of us for joining. So we're going to be ending the meeting. So enjoy the rest of your day. See you next time. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.